welcome. Welcome everybody. How are you doing today? It's so very nice to have you here. And I wanted to speak today a little bit about our upcoming 6-week program for returning students. I'm always very happy to work with you because of the connection that we share. And also because we already share the foundation of inquiry. Freedom is our birthright. That's what we really want. This is the true purpose of our life. And every time we sit together, we are really creating a stronger foundation. A stronger foundation for awakening, for embodiment, and for freedom. So we have some very exciting topics coming up this summer, and I want to speak about them very briefly. Desire for freedom, willingness, and practice. You know, we can say many times, I want to be free, right? We can think that, we can say that, we can, we think we want that, right? But how does that show up practically in your life? You see, when I say willingness, I mean a practical application of the desire for freedom, right? So in a moment when the past arises, that there is a willingness to actually be present to that. How do we strengthen that willingness? How do we strengthen our capacity to be here, to practice? These are all topics we're going to be speaking about in our program. Capacity of the nervous system to be here. You know, we have been speaking about this for a while now because it's such a crucial element and often the missing link between spiritual experience and our ability to embody that and for that to become functional in a moment. So I will be speaking again and addressing, the key ways of growing the capacity of our nervous system to be here, because it is the key to ending suffering in a moment when past arises, right? For the nervous system to have enough capacity to be here with it as it is. And also to grow your awareness of the states that arise here and your understanding that these states are caused by your nervous system and where your nervous system is at. Because so often, when certain states arise, fear, anxiety, happiness, contraction, expansion, when certain reactivity, when certain states arise, we so often get involved with that, right? And we want to change that or fix that in some way or remedy that. What we don't realize is that these states, like often people experience different things, even depression, right? That these states have something to do with where your nervous system is at. And that if we can address the nervous system, if we can really find where it is and bring attention to that, what is its movement or lack of movement in a moment, then we can really, through that, we are growing the capacity, first of all, but we are also addressing the states. A topic that often comes up is action, the difference between action that arises from presence in the present moment, right, and action that is guided by the past. And here, we need to speak a little more about the discrimination of really learning to recognize when past is present. Because this is going to be the key, right? When we can recognize that past is here, we can apply the steps of inquiry, we can come to rest, and then we can see what is the action that arises in a moment, right? And this is such a crucial piece, very crucial for our ability to function in the world, right? So that we don't just perpetuate the past, that we don't just act on the past that is as it arises, that we really This is freedom, you know, that there's really this gap, this moment of recognizing past for what it is, and then the willingness to be here, and then the willingness to wait and see what really, you know, is the movement, what is the actual movement in a moment. Another area is how does awakening or recognition of presence translate into the area of relationships, which is another big subject, and we can't really address all of it in this short program, but there's a couple of areas that I want to speak about. One is communication from presence, something that I call honesty and communication, which I often find is really the area of challenge in relating, right? If you want to have conscious relating, the communication is going to be very, very key. And what does it mean, you know, honesty in a moment, right? What does it mean, honesty and communication? Because so often what we communicate is really the interpretation of what's going on, rather than the actual facts of what's happening in a moment, right? And when we when we learn to communicate like that, you know, we really come more into the present. And being in the present, we can really address things in a very different way. You know, this is often where a lot of challenge arises relationally. Another area of relationships that I want to speak about is survival strategies, tendencies that have formed really, really early in life. And these are, you know, the survival strategies are really substitute for presence, right? These are the times, the moments where we couldn't be here, where it wasn't possible to be here. And so instead we have developed this survival strategy. And now the survival strategy became the way we are in the world, oftentimes the way we relate to the world and to others, right? So once we can recognize that, once we can become aware of that, we can come here. And that, you know, brings us back into the present. So there is another area that I want to speak about in this year's program, and that's something that we can call living in a moment, which everything we have been speaking about so far, everything I have said so far is really about living in a moment. But here I mean also really learning to come into the unknown, come into the comfort of the unknown, and really, you know, learn to find rest and comfort here. And when I say learn to find comfort, it actually is comfortable being here, right? It's just not our habit. And to live presence in the world, we really need to be able to completely disconnect. And the way we disconnect is by coming into the unknown, right? By coming into the knowing that there is really nothing we know, really, you know, that we have to surrender everything and that we can just be here because that's all there is really, right? You know, we can think we know this and we can think we know that, and we can think we want to make plans and we think it's going to go this way or that way. But ultimately, you know, we don't know, right? So ultimately, we have to learn to come back over and over and over into that sense of unknown, which really ultimately is where comfort is found, right? Knowing that we don't know anything, that everything is okay just the way it is, that we don't have to know, that it doesn't have to, you know, that things are taken care of already, right? That we don't have to work at that or know that. There's also another area that often comes up for students and, you know, falls into that living in a moment category. Everything we I spoke about so far, falls under that. And that's really experiencing anxiety or insecurity around work, survival, money, and other challenging situations in your life, and how to find peace in that, how to find comfort in that. how we can learn to actually meet that, because survival is such a strong strategy, right? It's such a strong tendency, survival. When that arises, you know, our attention gets pulled by that, right? It's very believable, you know, very, very real. And it's so rare that actually we are in actual survival danger, you know. It happens in life, of course, that there are moments like that, it can be, but most of the time we are not, and yet that sense of the fear of survival arises here so strongly, and that's connected, of course, to money, to work, to a sense of value, you know. And so how can we meet that? How can we recognize that, become present to it, and meet that here in a moment? So I'm very much looking forward to our time together. The format this year is a little different. We have some teleconference calls, a couple of pre-recorded videos that gives you an opportunity to watch them when you want to, and also as many times as you need or want to watch them. So anyway, as always, I'm very much looking forward to our time together, and I hope to see you there.